You're listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
Episode 311. Enter in all 311 songs that I know, which are 0. Yeah. Actually, I know plenty of 311 songs. I just don't know that I know them. So give me one and I can sing it.
If you want, I'm doing the same thing
you
right
don't
now.
Know any?
I know a lot of 311 songs. And
is there a song that's like Down or something?
Always be down, down.
Don't they have a song called Down?
I just started singing it.
If you're a fan of 311, we apologize that we are not doing them justice at all.
We're okay. I don't
know if we are, though, because they're totally our generation.
Yeah, and we know a lot of them, but I can't start playing them because YouTube will.
What's the name of the song?
Well, yes, Down is one of them.
See?
Yes, you did.
This episode's all going to be about Down.
What about Beautiful Disaster?
I have no idea what that song is. Anyways, we're not going to talk about 311. We're not fans of 311. This is just episode 311.
We're not fans of 311. Oh, apparently California Love is the last song I listened to by Tupac.
There you go.
It's still going. California Love.
So we're going to get into it. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to go right towards it.
I like it when we warm up.
Okay, let's warm up a little bit.
Just kidding.
What do you want to warm up with?
Some heat. I'm going to warm my hands over the candle.
It is.
It went from summer to winter.
Yeah, it's June. And global warming has us in the middle of winter. So it's fallish weather outside. It's like 37 degrees or something.
It's super. We literally were 90 days. Jesus.
90 days clean.
Yesterday was also super cold.
Means I've showered the last 90 days. Go ahead.
The day before, because they got cold yesterday. So the day before winter came, it was 90 degrees. It was beautiful. It was so warm. And then all of a sudden it was like, that's enough of that. We shall bring the... So it's cold. Bring the cold. Winter is here. So we're back at it.
The White Walkers are coming down from the north.
I've got socks and sweaters and just like...
Are you looking forward to the new Game of Thrones?
I don't know.
Not series, offshoot, back. I don't know what they're calling it.
I don't know.
Prequel.
Is it? Oh, yeah, because you said it's going to be about the dragons.
Yeah, House Targaryen.
Okay. Yes, I am. I think I first I wasn't, but yeah. Yeah.
You like the dragons.
I do like the dragons. And I did at first was just like, why did they end it that way? Right? Just like everybody else.
How did it end like everybody else?
No, like everybody else. They were like, what was that ending?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
You didn't like it?
I didn't. But now I kind of do.
What didn't you like about the ending?
Well, I was like, why did Daenerys
why did she go crazy?
Why did she like that? And I'm trying to choose my words carefully here.
So that we don't have a spoiler, or why?
No, so we don't have a spoiler. I don't want to come off as crazy, but sometimes I'll be crazy. So I went from thinking, oh my God, why did they do that? That was so crazy. That's not her. And then I'm like, oh, I can see that shit.
Now you can relate.
I can see how that happened. I can see it makes sense. Why Jon Snow? Why did he have to kill her? That's where I'm like, come on now.
We got massive podcast heads going on here.
We do?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Like when we tilt our heads and talk to each other.
Oh, because we're working with the mic.
I go to my left.
Yeah.
You typically go to your left too.
We're like.
So then we mirror each other.
Okay. You know who else does this? Dogs, when they hear funny sounds. That's where we are. We're like.
What?
That was unique.
But try to tilt it to the right and see how it feels. Doesn't that feel way off? It does.
Also, the right side of my neck is really, really painful.
Yeah, but even if your neck wasn't painful, you can just tell that this doesn't feel natural. This doesn't feel natural.
Right. I only feel natural when I go to the left.
Do you think we do that when we just talk normally, or is it only on the podcast?
God, I don't know. I know we do it in the shower because we're trying to lean away from the water to talk.
What is that?
We are special. That's what it is.
We definitely have.
We are just we're like, what are we,
like
ADHD, neurodivergent, all the PTSDs, and now we're like,
hold on,
what
I'm
do we got
Google
here?
real quick because this suddenly has my attention.
I don't want to learn anymore. They're like, you're just really. It's okay. What are we? Is it a thing?
Hold on, I don't think this is what we have, but this is funny.
Oh God.
Most cases of head tilt are associated with a condition called torticollis.
Oh, it's
although in rare instances a head tilt can be due to other causes such as hearing loss, misalignment of the eyes, reflux, a flowing back of stomach acid in there. So
we have a lot
reflux,
of, we definitely have acid reflux.
a throat or lymph node infection could be.
We don't have that. We do have tight muscles.
Or a brain tumor.
Well, maybe.
Very uncommon.
So it's like,
though.
there's like this, like, because you're dizzy and balanced. Yeah. No, we're okay.
Yeah, that's weird.
Well, I don't think we normally. Oh, you know what I do? Because I can catch myself. I listen to with a tilt. When people are going and I'm really listening, I listen with a tilt. Maybe, so is it hear loss or hear loss? Is it hearing loss? Is it, I don't know. What is that?
I don't know either.
Am I questioning what they're saying?
I thought it was just a podcast thing.
Yeah.
Where we would do it on the podcast.
I watched you listen. Usually when you get your tilt on, it's your what the fuck bullshit detector. Because once you'll give that to the kids a lot. They'll talk and you'll be like,
hold on a minute. Something's not adding up here. Your explanation of what just occurred did not actually occur that way. Yeah, it did. It's totally what happened. What? So, I don't know. I'm going to try to bring awareness to it. Stephanie and I
try and go to the right.
We are in a yoga training to become certified yoga teachers.
So our heads should
and we're
be
like 2 months in,
floating on top of our spine.
And we are learning about how incredibly off our entire body is.
We can't even walk right.
So we can't walk right.
Jesus.
Even standing still, like just standing, we fell miserably at. And we walk, because you're supine, I'm lupine. What is it? Like you're knocky knees and I'm bowed hips or something. We're just completely off balance and across the board. Supination,
pronation. It's also like eversion and inversion. I think I can't remember the two, but they're actually, the versions are more accurate for the feet and what we do.
Yeah,
but they're off balanced. We are not.
So we're trying to bring awareness to it. And my guess is that this whole head tilt to the left.
You just called me knocky knees.
You got knock knees, right? Good old knock knees.
No.
Isn't that what it is?
Yeah, but I think I just heard it for the first time. You got knocked.
My knees point at 45 degrees.
You got bow-legged
to the left and to the right.
You're wall-eyed and I'm knock-kneed.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I'm that, if my knees were my eyeballs,
they would be wall-eyed.
Nobody would know. I'm sorry, who are you talking to? I'm talking to you. What are you talking about? No. Excuse me, sir.
Yours are, and I'm cross-eyed. That's
right?
Okay. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's how your eyes are, that's okay. But we're just trying to describe our knees, and we're also assholes.
I think they've got it figured out. Did you say, and also our assholes?
No, I said, and we are also assholes.
Our assholes are off center. Mine is over to the left.
How the fuck did that happen? You had one job. You're down the middle.
Totally had to readjust the toilet.
I thought it was my North Star. Which way do I lean now?
It's my south node.
It totally is your south.
Okay.
Jesus. God, this is sober conversations.
I'm going to keep my head tilted to the right.
Right. Go to the right.
Yeah, we haven't been high on the podcast for months and months and months.
And we're not today. This is natural.
I don't remember the last high episode we did. We'd have to go back and look.
I'm okay. Yeah, you can do that.
It was like January or February.
It was a while ago.
So, okay. Had some awareness this morning when I was journaling.
Whew, yeah.
And I thought it was a perfect idea, or a perfect conversation for the podcast.
Okay.
So lately, just to give the listeners some backstory, I love that you and I have these conversations, right? But then we obviously have to take into consideration the person that's out there listening who isn't aware of our every single day life activity like you and I are.
They're like, what conversations?
Mm-hmm.
Conversations we're having on the regular. You're aware. They get it.
So Steph and I have been journaling off and on for the past 10 years. More off than on, truthfully. But this year we've rededicated ourselves to it in some way, shape, or form. At least I have. Are you still journaling, babe?
I'm journaling, but I'm doing it different.
You're doing it a little bit different.
I'm doing it a lot of bit different, and it's working, I think.
Good.
Yes, it is.
Does
it's
it feel
working.
Good?
It feels more aligned. Yes.
Good.
It does feel good.
So we started the practice again up in March, and it's initially we were doing some scripting, and we really liked that. I'll just speak for myself rather than continually speak for both of us by telling everybody what we do. I was enjoying the scripting, but I was getting obsessive with it because it was basically writing the same thing every day. And I got too in my head with it, and it was starting to become overwhelming. So then I started to shift out of it a little bit, but I was having a really hard time shifting out of it. And then I listened to Elizabeth Gilbert on Glennon Doyle's podcast. And if you haven't listened to that episode, or if you don't know who Glennon Doyle is or Elizabeth Gilbert is, Glennon's the author of a couple of books. Her most recent one is Untamed. And then Elizabeth Gilbert is the author of a couple of books as well. And her most popular book is Eat, Pray, Love. So they're having this really beautiful conversation. And it's just it's an amazing episode. You need to go back and listen to it, I think. Yeah. Especially since you're such a fan of Elizabeth.
I'm a pretty big fan of her.
But it's a 2-part episode. And during the second part, she was talking about recovery. And she was talking about addiction. And the process that she has every day, like her spiritual practice, involves sitting down and basically journaling and communicating and connecting with God and asking God each day what lesson God had for her that day. God, what is the lesson that you have for me today? And then she writes from that perspective and writes from that space as if God is writing to her and sharing with her a life lesson or an experience or whatever, right? Whatever's coming up for her in that moment or in that day. So I'm listening to this. And I start to think about my journaling process. And I start to think about where I'm at in my journey and my experience, not just with journaling, but with my life. Excuse me. And I think about the spiritual practice of journaling and connecting. And I think about writing to God. And I don't have a belief in God. I don't have a connection to God, but I have a connection to the universe, and I have a belief in the universe. So that's just my version of God, or God is the world's version of my universe, right? Kind of doesn't really matter how you look at it, I think. For me, I think it's more about the intention and the connection, a connection to a higher source, a higher power, a connection to something outside of yourself that doesn't necessarily mean it's greater than you, but just, we come from that place, right? We stem from this place. I'm going to get sidetracked on what I'm trying to talk about. Anyways, so I start writing to the universe each morning, and I ask the universe what it has for me. And this morning I was doing the same thing. And I was starting to, if I don't write this thing out at the beginning, if I don't have the correct verbiage and or prompt or statement, and then if my journaling doesn't look like, quote unquote, what Elizabeth Gilbert's journaling looks like. By the way, who knows what hers look like, right? She read one of hers on this podcast episode. So I have the context of one of her daily journal writings. And somehow I have formulated that that's how it's supposed to look every day. And if mine doesn't look that way, then I'm failing. And I started to think about it from that perspective of imitation and how I'm imitating Elizabeth Gilbert. And I'm imitating her connection with her higher power and her higher source. I'm like, well, that doesn't sound right. And then it really got me thinking about imitation and how, that's how we learn, right? From a very early age. I have a Jolly Rancher in my mouth, which makes for terrible audio, but I keep switching sides because it gets all jaggedy in between my cheek and my gum.
Is it a jagged little pill?
And then there's some songs I know. Yeah. Gosh, Alanis would be so fun to interview.
Oh my gosh.
Wouldn't she?
She would. I hope I could. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would. That would be amazing.
That'd be a good interview one day.
Hopefully. I mean, hopefully I wouldn't stutter the whole time, but I might stutter.
I'd have a meltdown, I think.
You would have a meltdown?
Yeah.
Okay. You'd have your meltdown, and that would cue me, and her and I would have a great conversation. Yeah. And then you would come back in, and then I'd, yeah.
Yeah.
I can pick it up when you put it down.
I'm spinning out now thinking about
okay?
Alanis. Yeah,
Okay.
No, I'm okay. I'm not like, no, I'm just.
One day we're gonna talk to her. How wonderful.
Yes.
Yes.
That'll be a great day. Today we're talking about imitation. And it really got me thinking about how much I imitate people and how I have imitated things from the very beginning of my life. Because it became like, I don't know if I have context for imitating my mom, consciously at least. Mm-hmm. But I guess I did in some ways, right? Of course I did. Same thing with my dad. And imitating my brothers as well. And that idea, like imitating, the word imitating, I was sitting with it a lot this morning and I was thinking about it and I was thinking like, it's how we learn. So we have to imitate in order to learn things, right? Because you learn by watching. Mm-hmm. I mean, literally that's how I think we learn how to talk. Mm-hmm. As we look at people and we see their mouth and then we start to
I love it when babies do
formulate words. Do you know what I mean?
Get me all mushy.
Yeah. So
cool little mouse making all the sounds.
Imitation feels very childlike to me.
Innocent.
And as I was sitting there writing this morning, I realized that I didn't need to imitate Elizabeth Gilbert, that I could write and journal and connect to my version of creation, however that looked each and every morning. And in doing so, I wasn't failing. And in doing so, I wasn't somehow at like a disservice to myself or to my healing. That it was okay and that I didn't need any shame or judgment or criticism of myself in that space. But yet instead I could allow myself to imitate. Like this concept really, it seems overly simplified in my head and it seems like I don't even want to speak it because it's like, duh, obvious. But I don't know if I've ever subconsciously grasped it, right? The idea being that, yes, you imitate people and you take from people the things that you want to imitate and that you want to emulate and the ways that you want to, use their teachings or their words of wisdom or whatever it might be. But you then have to make that your own. And you have to pick up what you want to pick up and let go of what you don't want to hold on to, right? And this whole idea of, like, I'm okay with the understanding of imitating people, especially stuff that you gravitate towards and things that you find beneficial and things that you like and things that help, right? Especially if you look at it from the context of healing and like this self-growth. Because we look outside ourselves so that we can heal the inside of ourselves, right? I need to seek and find the answers that are going to help me internally. So some of that information that I'm grasping for, that I'm reaching for, I learn something. I learn, like last week we talked about mantras. And I'm using all of this external source of information as well as ideas and practices and things like that I'll emulate and imitate, but then the process of making it my own, somehow I have a disconnect there. Somehow I have a judgment there. I have an internal criticism where if it's not exactly like this thing, then I'm failing. So I don't know. I want to keep talking about it, but I'm overwhelmed. What's coming up for you?
What's coming up from me?
Did anything I say just make sense?
Oh, it totally made sense. And I think it's just like this verbiage, like confusion, or like what you're saying is like, we'll totally dive into all of the aspects of, like, there's so much came up. And I don't want to like jump ahead in my thoughts, but I want to like backtrack and hit all the things that came up. But what's really like hitting is when you have the, it's like the evolving of it. It's like you have the childlike imitation that transcends into self-aware inspiration. So when you like, you have that, it's good to be inspired. It's good to be inspired. And there is that self-worth, that root, that right to be here thing that we're all working on of, well, this is how, this is the right way to do things. And if I don't do it this way, then I'm doing it wrong. When that's not the case. Unless you're doing, not even that, I was going to say, unless you're doing brain surgery, but even that's evolving, right? Everything's evolving. Everything is like an inspiration of like, this is the framework, and now you get to make it your own. And that's what makes it beautiful. That's how you have the Elizabeth Gilberts inspiring out there. It's not like the world doesn't need to do it like her. You don't need to do it like her, but she gets to inspire you. And then you get to create it and make it your own, which is where the real magic happens. Not that I'm not saying that she's not magic, but it's just like she made it her own. It was her inspiration. And that's where the magic is. And now the inspiration that you get is where the magic is. And what do you cultivate with that? It's not like if you just did it her way, then, no right or wrong, but where are you?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
You
inspire me on the regular.
Cool.
And there are a lot of times when it's really hard to like break away and not do it like you.
See, and what does that feel like?
Feels like I'm doing it wrong. I understand what you're saying. Like, this is like, not only how am I supposed to do it, but what's expected of me. And if I do it different than you, then not only am I feeling wrong, but I feel judged, like you're doing it. And so that's the internal fuckery of your mind and past traumas, because none of that is true. And people that are like, if you don't do it my way, they've also learned that internal fuckery of the same, like, this is the way to do it. This is the way it should be done. You need to do it my way, and I need to do it this way. It's just like these patterns that people are afraid to break out of. I'm afraid to break out of a lot of them. And then there's patterns that I just, not only do I refuse to fall into, I can't even see. Like, there's just rat races that I just do not participate in as you. Like, there's patterns that you see and patterns that you want to create. And then there's patterns that you just do not even participate in a little. You're very much your own person.
And see that thing.
I need to like pop my back. Oh shit, I'm sorry. Okay.
In the context of just this journaling thing and writing to God and communing with God each morning, my head is, what I realized was, I could almost feel like the beginning phases of this process for me, right? Where I imitate this behavior that suddenly I think is going to give me enlightenment. And enlightenment isn't, that's just the, I guess, peace, right? It's going to give me peace, and it's going to
direction.
Give me, it's going to give me direction. It's going to give me something next in my healing journey. This is the way to go. So I have to imitate it, and I'm going to then get this next piece of my healing journey. And then I could sense the process in the last few mornings, the last couple of days, where I was starting to stray from the process. I was starting to do it differently. And I was starting to have a lot of internal criticism in my head of that fact of the process altering from its original intended purpose, right? And I was starting to be really judgmental of it in my head. And then I could feel like the contention of not wanting to continue to do it that way, forcing myself to continue to do it that way, and then being frustrated and wanting to do it differently, but then criticizing myself for wanting to do it differently and telling myself in my head, you have to do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this internal battle of like, I don't want to do it that way. You have to do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do it that way. You have to do it that way. If you don't do it this way, then you'll be failing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that cycle. It's like suddenly I could see it and I could feel it. And what I would normally do is I would either stay in that contention spot of, you have to do it this way. I don't want to do it this way. I would stay there until I stopped doing it altogether. So that's like a week from now, I would just be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
Or I would latch on to something else. It's a good thing we didn't burn any incense this episode. I got all sorts of tickles in my throat. So like over the course of this contention, if something else entered in before I quit doing this practice, then I would just latch on to whatever was next.
Mm-hmm.
And then this next thing would then become the next path and the next step into my healing and into peace and into an enlightenment where, this will be the ticket. This will be the key.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would repeat the same pattern with that thing.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck? Right? I don't like any of that.
Yeah.
That seems crazy to me.
Yeah.
And I can feel the part
Welcome
of me.
aboard, people. Here we are.
I can feel the part of me that is like telling myself, no, just do it. The part of you that doesn't want to do it in the way that quote unquote Elizabeth Gilbert did it, or in the way that it's supposed to be done, is the loser part of you. It's the failure part of you. So you have to be stronger than that failure loser part of you and stay disciplined and do it this way. And then I got a part of me that's like, big fat middle finger up your ass. I don't want to do anything that way, but you have to. So it's like this internal struggle inside of me, right?
You're trying to discern between discipline and like conforming.
Yeah.
So like falling into like, it feels like conforming into societal or like not even societal, but conforming into what you must do, which is wrong based off of, and as opposed to having self-discipline.
I don't think it's
follow
necessarily
You don't,
what I like conforming into what I must do.
no, it's like, is that where you're having like,
It's this struggle of like starting something and then quitting.
yeah.
Boy, I don't know. I might be too close to this to try to, I feel like this, I'm really confused now.
Let me try to, just what I'm hearing a little bit more. It's not, I'm not saying these are things that you must do and you must conform to. And I'm saying like, is that like that internal battle? Like I saw the way you looked at me for just saying that. I was like, is that like where your resistance is? Like, don't tell me I will not conform here, but also seeing where maybe you lack discipline. And so getting those roads crossed. And so feeling like, oh, this is a discipline thing. So I need to push here. But your body is like, this actually isn't. So are you just like these interwoven things between where, no, you do not have to conform. You do not have to get bogged down into these things. Like these you must do. You don't must do. That was like, oh gosh, now I tried to make a joke and it didn't land, so now I'm feeling silly. I didn't giggle at my verbiage. Now everything is lost. I'm not safe. But it's like those wires cross because you do have self-discipline and you lack self-discipline. And there are things that are a healthy thing to do. And there are things that people tell you are the things that you should do, which don't fit. So it's like this being like held down that no, and wanting to hold yourself accountable. It's this mix and getting those lines crossed when you come across something new. Is this something that I get to release, or is this something that I should have discipline in? And then using the crossed wires to use it as a way to hold you down, maybe.
I think that's part of it. What you're saying is, I think, just a part of it. And it's not the thing that I feel inside is the big lesson.
Yeah.
It's the big key thing. And I think that what I'm realizing as we pick this apart a little bit, I don't trust myself to like take me into healing. Like, I don't trust myself to guide me into where I need to go next.
Yeah.
I don't trust myself into the process of like knowing what I need.
Okay.
So I have to find what I need externally from other people that I emulate or imitate or look up to. And then I try to imitate that action or behavior. And then when it starts to not work for me, somehow that's my fault and that I have failed. And then I either quit it or quit myself in a sense, right? Or just latch on to whatever's next. If something else comes across my field of vision. And the idea that's coming up now is, like I was saying this morning, I'm sitting there and I'm realizing that I like the practice of, like, I like my journaling, quote unquote, practice in the morning. And I like this new introduction of connection with Source and communicating and communing with Source. And it feels good.
Where's the problem then?
What I'm realizing is that recognition of this is a healthy practice. This feels good to me. I've taken bits and pieces from outside sources and made them my own. And I can trust that.
Yes.
I can trust that that is not just okay, right? That's the first and foremost. Like, I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Nobody's judging me, right? Elizabeth Gilbert's not looking over my shoulder telling me that I have journaled wrong this morning.
I don't think so.
And I can trust that what I'm doing is good for me and is in my best interest.
Yes, you can.
And that part, I can trust that what I'm doing for me is in my best interest. I can trust that what I'm doing is good for me.
Mm-hmm.
I have never had that.
Yeah.
I've never trusted that what I'm doing is good for me.
Have you always acted in your best interest?
No.
Are you acting in your best interest?
Today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's your discernment right there.
But that's what I'm...
That's like, no, like, just take a pause.
Hold on. I can feel the anxiety of that feeling of not trusting myself, not trusting that what I'm doing is good for me.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to tell. I haven't been able to discern. I haven't been able to like recognize, is this good for me or is this not? I don't know. And my default at some point became, this isn't good for me. Like my default became criticism and judgment of my choices and my actions. So it wasn't even a matter of maybe it was really good for me or maybe it was healthy in the moment, right? But my default was, it's not good for you. You're fucking it up. you took this good thing and you made it bad. You're not. So I haven't trusted that what I'm doing is good for me.
Yeah.
Like my whole life. Yeah. That's kind of big.
That is big.
I love that you're just like, yeah, sounds about right. That's hard.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like the idea that I haven't had that trust. I mean, it's not even trust. Like, I just haven't had that confidence, that awareness of like, yeah, it's really hard to trust my choices, trust my decision making, trust that what I'm doing is good for me. You know, and we can obviously see why.
Yeah.
You can obviously see how that's connected and correlated to trauma and childhood and criticism and judgment and abuse and all sorts of other things. My mantra, or one of them, practicing by sending myself text messages. I love my body and trust its wisdom.
Beautiful.
Right? Trust its wisdom. I can trust that what I'm doing is good for me.
Yeah.
Even if it isn't imitating to a, like, you know, even if I'm not exactly imitating.
Even if you're not perfect, even if you don't do it perfectly.
It's not even perfection. It's
really?
like
Imitating. Finish your sentence and we'll see the difference.
Yes, even if it's not perfect.
Yeah. What happens if you make a mistake?
Then I'm a failure, and I'm a loser, and I'm not worthy of love or acceptance.
I
Right?
can see why it's so hard for you to trust yourself. Trust that you're doing the right thing. You trust that what you're doing is
and
best.
then I have like this obstinance thing inside of me.
What's that one say?
That one says, fuck them all.
Yeah.
You do whatever you want. You don't need to listen to any of that bullshit. You know better. Like, fuck off, Elizabeth Gilbert, with your fucking journaling in the morning to God. What the fuck do you know? I'm going to write however the fuck I want. And guess what? Maybe I won't. How about that? Maybe I'm done writing your dumb fucking journals. Right?
Yeah.
Craig, you don't need to write no journals. You know how to do things the way that you want to do them.
Right.
Yeah, that obstinate part of me. I mean, it's kept me safe sometimes, but it just has been such a motherfucker. It's kept me so disconnected and pushed away, and to the point where, like I said, I can't even trust myself. You know, even now I can hear it, where it's like, oh, this all sounds like a bunch of bullshit to me. Sounds to me like you've just wasted the last 30 minutes talking on your podcast about a bunch of dumb shit when you should have just been doing what you were going to do anyways. Okay, babe.
I love it how it comes up too. In other ways, like how, like you very strongly direct it. If, it starts when you're trying to process here and when you are looking for outside, but if anybody like says something outside that doesn't quite, it's like there's that, like, it's almost like an attack. Like here's just like it very much.
Are you talking about like the last 10 minutes?
I'm talking, well, yeah, that definitely is a good example. It's unique to watch that go, and I can recognize that in you because I can recognize that in me. So I can, like, it's such a learning how to trust yourself when you were taught from a very early standpoint that what you were feeling was wrong and what something that was not okay was okay. And so from like the beginning, from inception, you were taught that what you were feeling was wrong. And this was like, that's going to fuck you up. That's going to, like, this is a whirlwind of unwinding and unpacking and exploration and trial and error. You're doing a really good job. Doing a really good job.
Thank you.
I'm excited to hear all the other things that you come up with. Like I said, you inspire me on the regular. You're quite unique. I have trust in you.
Yeah.
I have trust that you'll make the right decisions. And that doesn't mean that you are only allowed to make the right decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
I know.
Yesterday when we were out with our son getting pizza at Sam's Club, nobody wanted to decide on what type of pizza they wanted.
Because nobody really wanted pizza. But we wanted pizza.
I asked, that was the first question. Do we even want this food? Or do we want to go get food somewhere else?
I offered a thing.
Nobody could even decide that.
That's not true. That's not what happened. I said something.
What did you say?
Okay. I said, I referred to a comment that somebody else had made on how they did not want pizza. That was the last thing, because so Asher didn't want pizza. He had ate like Sam's Club or Costco pizza pretty much every day last summer on work. So that's what it made him think of. And so I heard that conversation where Stevie suggested pizza, and he's like, oh God, no. Like the Sam's Club pizza. He's like, no, that's.
And then we asked him if he wanted to go somewhere
I know.
else.
So I told you this conversation.
Right.
And then you're like, hey, because you really wanted to eat there. So you were like, hey, do you want pizza here or do you want to go somewhere else? And he doesn't like to make the wrong decision either. So then you put it on. And then he was like, I don't care. So then here's where it wins. So like that information, but that's okay that the wrong decision was there. But to say nobody else was making a decision, like that's not. It's like there's a little more to it. And it's okay that what happened on the way home? What happened on the way home?
We ate the fucking
That pizza fucking disappeared. We were starving, and that pizza, we were happy with our pizza. We all had belly aches the rest of the night because we inhaled pizza, and then we ate more food. But yeah, so it was okay. Even if pizza wasn't really what was wanted, it's okay. We all ate the pizza, and we were all grateful for the pizza, and nothing bad happened. Everything was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we sit in this space now, not talking about pizza, sorry, that turns out not be very important. Back to the space of trusting yourself. How does that land for you? Do you feel like you fall in the same category that I do, where like you don't know how to trust yourself?
Oh, no. I do not. That is an ongoing process that I have to keep learning, and I have to keep, I also don't want to just like only listen to myself. Like I want my instincts and what's right or wrong and like what's morally right for me and what's safe for my body. I want to listen to that. If I'm like, this isn't safe for me, I don't want this. And to have somebody else say, oh, but this is safe for you and you do want this, like, fuck that. I only want to listen to me on that. But I need more than me to learn and to grow and to find out actually what is, like, there's more safety that I need to learn, because things that I've been saying, oh no, this is actually okay, because I've like learned that this is okay. And then somebody else comes along and is like, well, that's not okay. That's not okay. And you deserve better than that situation. Like I want to be able to hear that and grow and learn. So if it's just swimming in my own little pool, I'm not going to get anywhere. Yet I have to learn to trust myself. So I need myself to trust what's right and wrong, but I also need other people to help guide. And so there's that, like a cluster, like which way am I going? Am I going in? Am I going out? Am I going in? Am I going out? It's both. I don't know how to trust myself yet, but I'm learning.
When you sit with that idea, when you sit with the, like, if you were go ahead.
I just want to clarify. I don't know how to trust myself in every area. But to say I don't know how to trust myself isn't factual. I have learned how to trust myself on a multitude of areas. I have more trust in myself now than I ever have in what is like okay for me, what is where I want to go. And I now will follow direction, and not follow direction as in follow orders, but like a direction. I'm able to spread or search out. And I don't know how to trust all areas. There's still so much healing that has taken place. So I just wanted to clarify, there are many areas that I do not trust myself in, and I am scared. And I'm trying to find safe people to help, such as coaches or therapists or however, partners that you feel safe with. And I trust myself in a lot of areas from a lot of growth.
What's an area that you trust yourself in?
Go back to your original question. I wanted to clarify that, because that I don't trust myself as a blanket statement was not true.
Yeah.
And my body was like, excuse me, correct that. So I needed to correct that.
Well, what's an area?
Well, for instance, that, I guess. I don't want to be put on the spotlight for that. That right there, I trusted myself to speak up. I'm now hearing my truth on what it's at. I'm like, don't laugh at me right now. That hurt my feelings. I feel sensitive and exposed, and I can't pull one up right now. And it's not because there's not there, but there's like experiences and things that happen in the moment of where I have a choice to make, and I make a choice. And sometimes I make the wrong choice, and sometimes I make the right choice, but being like, I'm standing firm in areas of where I'm saying, this is how I feel, and this matters. And I don't need to like look to you, for instance, like just saying that, don't laugh at me. You're like, that's not what I was doing. I didn't need to be like, oh, whatever. I can just say, this doesn't feel good for me. Even if that's not your intent, that's not what you're doing. Okay, well then let's address that. But right now, this doesn't feel good for me, and I don't want to accept that. Doesn't mean you have to stop what you're doing, but I can definitely change my direction. So that's where that I'm starting to use my voice and trusting myself on where that's at, while being told that I'm wrong continuously. Every time I use my voice, it's coming up, and people are like lashing. Like, oh, that's not what I'm out of, like flipping shit in so many different directions where it's coming back at me. And I'm like, and this doesn't feel good for me, and I don't need to accept this. So I am working really hard on that, and it's really fucking hard. And I might be getting it all wrong. Maybe I'm turning into this horrible person, but I'm willing to be wrong so that I can start to figure out what is right for me. So I'm willing to be wrong in all of these aspects, but I'm also willing to be right and say, no, this is not okay. And I'm not going to accept this into my space. You don't have to change. I'm not saying you can't do this to me. I'm saying I'm not going to accept this into my space. And it's really hard. I'm getting lots of practice.
As you start to practice it, as you continue to practice, like you said, you're getting a lot of practice in that space.
Yes.
What does that growing trust inside of you feel like? Can you feel it? Does it feel like something that's building and growing inside of you? Almost like a muscle that you're getting stronger and stronger in the practice of using?
Yes. It feels like I'm uncurling out of my belly. Because so much, like physically uncurling, because so much is like, I've literally like curled in. Like even my knock knees, everything is like curled in, like just like pulling in, and I feel like I'm just like kind of unraveling a bit. I open up. So it feels like I'm strengthening other parts that I can kind of like, and it also feels like I'm exposing myself.
Do you have a narrative inside of your head that, go ahead.
Does that relate? Can you resonate with any of those things now that you're like hearing that a little bit? Are you like ways that you do trust yourself, and that you are trusting yourself to like make the best choices for you, and you are looking out for your own best interest? And
yes.
Tell me one if you can. It's hard. I'll wait.
Just the act of like self-love. So some of the things that I've started doing recently, like the whole journaling in the morning and the morning routine and the morning practice, and that aspect of me communicating that to you and us really having a awareness of what that time and space is for me and how it's important to me and how I need that alone time to go through that wake up and that ritual and that practice for myself. That feels very much like this. It almost feels like I'm a little boy standing up, not in like this defiant, like there's a difference I can feel inside of myself where I would stand up in an aggressive, ready to fight kind of way, where I stand up and be like, here we go, we're going to fight. And that's not what that feels like. This just feels like a standing up in a, like a prideful, strong, like not a look and see what I did, but more of like coming from inside of myself of look and see what you did. Where it's like, oh my gosh, I just spoke up and said, this is what I need. And I'm completely justified in doing that. And it felt good. And it's a need that is good. Like I can trust that that's good. Like it's just this whole little beautiful spiral of healthiness that I can feel. And I can start to trust and know that, like me speaking my needs, not just to you or to the world at large, but to myself, and having them be real and healthy and valid and trusted and respected and honored. And yeah, it feels super bizarre. I don't know how to explain it. It feels like you unfurling inside is a good descriptor that I can see for you. But for me, it just feels like a standing up straight and tall. Like in this proud moment of accomplishment. And it feels very, very different than defiance. But as we talk about this and we talk about the feeling of trusting yourself, truthfully, Steph, I don't think I have much of this. Like you said, oh, wait, I've done this a lot. I don't think I have.
Yeah.
I think about all the decisions that I've made in my life and the decisions that I would think, or the choices that I made, or all the times that I can look back and see like things that I would normally think of as like a good trusting decision that I made for myself, that I would have in my head conceptually as like that moment in my life. I can kind of go back to that moment and realize I did not feel safe. I did not have that same feeling that I have now of standing up in a prideful, healthy way.
Mm-hmm.
It was in a defiant, oppositional, or I don't have a lot of it. I don't have a foundation of trust in myself.
Yeah.
And in my decisions and in my choices and in my actions. There is no greater critic than myself.
Yeah. Where did that critic learn to speak? Who was that critic imitating?
My mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
But can you look at that and you have that awareness, like no greater critic than your own.
Yes.
But it's not yours.
Correct. Yeah.
And still it's the one that talks the loudest.
Well, it's just the one that's had the mic for so long.
Right? I
You know?
relate. I'm not calling you out on anything. I'm feeling this too.
Take that mic away.
Yeah. It doesn't need a mic. I'll talk louder. I gotta.
So I like the feeling. I like the awareness of that. I'm learning to
Grow. Your foundation. You see, you don't have a foundation for that.
Right.
Yeah. But you're building one.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
I can.
What's that feel like?
It feels good.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why I am feeling frustrated and or confrontational with you right now. I don't understand why.
Yeah.
Other than maybe perhaps I've been vulnerable. I also felt stupid for making you feel bad earlier. So I start to close off and not want to connect because I feel dumb. So I fucked up. So I can feel all of that inside, and that's probably what my resistance to like having you continue to help me in this moment feel this good feeling or this new feeling anymore.
Well,
so
maybe, okay. Would it feel better if we stayed in the Would it feel better if we just stayed in the crappy feeling for a minute? Would that feel like that part of you is really being seen? If we stayed in that, like you've never had that foundation. That's never been there. You have no foundation on what it's like to trust yourself. Zero.
I didn't want to have this entire episode just be talking about myself and what happened to me this morning and journaling. I wanted to talk about this and have some conversation around it, and I wanted to hear what parts stand out for you and what resonates with you. And
okay.
Yeah, this is just all really uncomfortable now.
Okay.
And I feel stupid and angry. And I mean, truthfully too, we need to wrap.
Okay.
Not just because it's time, but also because I don't want to sit in this any longer. I like this awareness. I feel really fucking dumb right now. I feel like I had some big awareness of, wait a minute, I'm learning to trust myself. I feel like an idiot for never having this in my life before, but I also feel like proud of myself that I can actually feel this now, and that I'm having awareness that this is what's happening, right? Where I can imitate Elizabeth Gilbert, but then make it my own, and it's totally okay, and I can trust that process, and it turns out I can trust the decisions that I'm making for myself. I can trust the wisdom of my body. All of that feels really good and really like exciting, and I'm excited about it. And then I feel really, really stupid. 'Cause I'm 41. We talk about stuff on this podcast, and I just feel so dumb. Sitting there journaling this morning, and it was like, I'm imitating this person like a child. I'm a child trying to fucking figure out how to heal. I don't have any idea how to do that healthy. All the ways that I know how to heal involve hurting myself. It involves pain and abuse and suffering. That's how I have survived my whole life. And so the idea that now I'm learning to trust healthy ways of healing that don't involve pain and suffering, it doesn't seem real. It seems make-believe. And I feel so stupid that I'm an adult talking about this as if it's something that I should have already known. And it's something that I should have already realized. Like, yeah, don't imitate people, make it your own. Yeah, I get that intellectually. Subconsciously, I have no awareness of that at all. Subconsciously, I'm just continually failing. No matter what I do. Healthy or unhealthy, just a failure. So it's kind of hard to talk about. It's hard to realize. It's hard to acknowledge, right? On one hand, it's really exciting to acknowledge and see that I'm healing and that I'm doing good things for myself and that I can actually trust those things. And I don't need to criticize them or judge them. I can just, in fact, know that, oh, that's good for you, Craig. Because it feels good and it feels healthy. That's exciting. And then on the other hand, I just feel so foolish. And so weak. And I feel like I look outwardly at people and I'm like, I can't even imagine other people being this stupid. Especially at 41. But it's the truth of who I am. That makes me sad. That I didn't figure this out sooner. That I didn't have awareness of this sooner. But I do now. And I can feel it in my body, and it feels different than than anything I have felt in my body before. They say it's confidence, but it just feels like trust. Well, sweetheart,
showing up like that. Thank you for letting me see that. Thank you for sitting here with me. Letting me sit here with you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
It really sucks that you never had anybody to show you that. And it is really sad. It's incredible that you have found it. And it's so sad that you had to do that on your own. And that it was up to you. You deserved better than that.
Okay.
Get some water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's wrap up.
Okay.
We'll go do some other things today now.
Okay. Thank you for joining us, hanging out with us. Share the episode. You still have a chance to win the backdrop. I don't know what to say now. I'm going to do my best here. If it is June, you have your chance to win this backdrop, which happens to be, oh my gosh, I just love it so much. It's got the phases of the moon going down the center, and it's a galaxy theme behind it. It's a very gorgeous purpley, bluey galaxy theme with astrological symbolism throughout. It's quite beautiful. So head over to Instagram, YouTube, wherever you're at, watch it, check it out. But when you go to Instagram in the highlighted sections, you'll see how to enter to win this backdrop.
We'll see you guys on the next episode.
See you then. We love you.